Well, good morning, everybody. Maybe it's not quite a good morning. It's the 22nd of June. It's about 10 minutes to 7 in the morning, 2025, and it is Sunday. Not very much going on. Well, there is a lot going on. It's kind of strange because Donald Trump, he attacked Iran in the wee hours of the morning, of course. That's normally when everything always happens. And it's weird that he chose the very same day, 22nd of June, maybe, what was it? Maybe an hour and a half before, but on the same date as when the Nazis decided to attack the Soviet Union. And for the most part, that's what really, in 1941, that's what really kicked off World War II. Even though there was already a smaller, I guess you'd call it a smaller and less devastating war already in the other parts of Europe and the western side. But the Nazis were winning very easily over there. But when they decided to take on Russia, like always, like when Napoleon did and other peoples in the past, that's when I guess the real war starts. And like Donald Trump, and I mentioned yesterday, you don't go to war against the Soviets because you're going to lose. That's basically what he said. But then, I don't know in the last time period when anybody's actually trying to take on Iran, maybe in Persia in ancient times. But Iran, of course, has been ready to go to war to the West for quite some time. And you don't really know. They're intelligent people. You don't know really what they have in store for places like things like the United States, and they said that it's going to be a devastating response. It hasn't happened yet. But Trump, I guess these B-52 bombers, I guess they were leaving the West Coast and they were supposed to be going to Guam, and that's deception in and of itself. I did a video, and even Fox News is saying that Donald Trump, I think I wrote it down here. This is just going to be a shorter video, and I might have to do another video a little bit later on when more information comes through. But anyway, a lot of these things they left, I think, from Andrews Air Force Base, probably California. They're supposed to be going to Guam, but looks like some of them kept on going, and they had all of these refueling tankers. I've mentioned that, and a lot of people are talking about it. The United States has put a huge amount, maybe 30 of them, maybe their entire fleet, what do they call it, airborne or aerial refueling of all of these airplanes, of course, for a massive bombing raid. And it didn't happen yet. Let me continue on with that. It did not even happen yet. This was a first bombing raid from Donald Trump, and it looks like he calls it a great success. It looks like it wasn't a great success at all. Iran saw all this coming, and they got all their main equipment and the enriched uranium out of those places. So at least there's not going to be any sort of effect where there would be any radioactive fallout for the most part, I guess, because a lot of that stuff, the radioactive material, was removed by Iran. They saw this coming. At least Iran is a little bit more humanistic. It's not like the United States, that dropped 2 nuclear bombs. The only country on the planet that has ever used nuclear weapons is the United States, and they did it twice, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and they did not drop them on military targets. They dropped them on civilian targets. They purposefully killed civilians. It's just like the bombing of Dresden. I don't even know how many couple thousand people that the United States and of course Great Britain, and they were very, very, very happy to kill all those Germans. I don't know, Donald Trump and even the entire West, I guess the United States, with this, except for this little tiny incident on Pearl Harbor, they'd never really experienced an attack on the United States, and nothing really ever, devastating. It's devastating, of course, what happened in Vietnam and any wars and at any little time periods, but the United States has never suffered anything like the Soviet Union, like Belarus or Russia, and of course even Poland or the Czech Republic or any of those sort of places. They've experienced devastation, maybe similar on to the things that have happened in other times in other wars to the partly to the United States. But then you look at Asia as well, Pol Pot and massacres on things like in Africa, massacres. The United States has never experienced any in any time except maybe since the Civil War, anything real devastating, any devastating real wars. They're all like basically Girl Scouts compared to what some other countries have experienced in war. So I guess that makes U.S. presidents, really happy whenever they bomb and kill a whole bunch of people. And they don't really look at it as anything that important. I was watching even an interview yesterday. It was with George Galloway and Professor Morandi, the Iranian professor, and they're trying to kill him, the Israelis. It's really strange, like killing reporters. It's like the Nazis in Ukraine do that, and the Nazis, the Zion Nazis, kill reporters too. These are people that don't have guns in their hands, and they just put out information. But these people don't like the information. They don't want other people to hear the information, so they kill these people, thinking that they're going to stop the information or change the story, make the truth not be the truth, turn the lie into the truth and the truth into the lie. I mean, that's the whole idea of it all, isn't it? And Donald Trump, like I said yesterday, he puts out fake news too. He tries to, hinder things a little bit here and a little bit there. They coerce people, they threaten people, they reward people. Like Lindsey Graham gets heavily rewarded, and some people probably, I'm actually just guessing, I don't know if we'll ever hear. I sort of think that they put some pressure on Tulsi Gabbard, and she did not even say that Iran is building a nuclear bomb. She was very clever in how she said it, to maybe save her own integrity. And I still have respect for Tulsi Gabbard, even though a lot of people are reading her differently and, saying, oh, now she's a warmonger too. But I'll tell you what, if Tulsi Gabbard is gone, she will never, probably ever get any kind of political position anywhere. They'll probably even avoid her in the news. They'll do everything. She'll never be in any party. The Democrats, of course, have already ousted her, and that's what it's like. And the Republicans will reject her too. She'll be like poison. So that's how that's all works out. But anyway, old Trump, he chose to launch the attack the same day as the Soviet Union was attacked by the Nazis. So it's the same sort of a thing, I'm sort of a weird guy. I don't know. You have to kind of wonder about what people are when they're walking around on a Sunday morning. A lot of time, I see sometimes in this area like some drunks and things, and I'm wondering when it's going to happen. Sometimes a man and a woman, and I don't know, why they're sitting in a park and they don't. And they're drunk and whatever, sometimes. Anyhow. But it's very odd or unusual, when you choose, and this is evil, this certainly is evil, what the United States is doing, and a lot of people are saying it has nothing to do with anything about any nuclear bombs or weapons or nuclear weapons programs. It has nothing to do with that. Donald Trump is not stupid. He knows that they're not building nuclear bombs. This is all to appease Israel. And I guess maybe that's he's paid his dues already for Israel putting him in the White House. And as I've been saying this all along, and other people have been catching up with me, that's almost definitely what happened. Israel put him there, and this is the payback that Donald Trump had to enact for Israel. And I'm hoping that it's all paid up. And those places were evacuated from people. There might have been some people, might have been some security guards and things. But Iran, I'm not even going by my notes. I'm just going by the information that I know. So, but remember when George Bush II, when he announced, not when he announced, but when it was a 9/11, and it happened on the very same day when his father, George Bush I, proclaimed a new world order. Exactly 10 years later on the same day. And Donald Trump, he missed, I guess he wanted to be earlier than Adolf. Adolf launched that attack on the Soviet Union at 4 in the morning. That was General Guderian on the 22nd at the Brest Fortress, 22nd of June, 1941. And I guess it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. Donald Trump chose 2:30 in the morning to launch his attack but on the same day, launch his attack. So it was it's like tradition. That's when a huge war started back in 1941, and that I don't think Iran is going to not do anything, and it really didn't cause so much damage, and it makes you wonder. And I guess it was Donald Trump, I guess on the Fordo, a nuclear enrichment site which is buried underground, Donald Trump dropped 6 bunker buster bombs. Iranians are reporting that they destroyed the entrance, and that, you know, there's an entrance and an exit. I don't know, maybe they can both be used as entrance and exits, you know, but I guess they were both destroyed, but the inside, of course, is virtually unscathed. And I can bet you that there were some, the shock waves, of course, did destruction there. It is just like when Israel killed Nasrallah. It was the shock waves that killed Nasrallah, head of the Hezbollah in Lebanon. It was not the bomb itself, so his body was intact. It was just the shock of it. I mean, the reverberations. And I bet you there was some damage in that nuclear enrichment site. Whatever equipment maybe they could not get out, it's probably damaged. I'm just guessing. And what else? So, yesterday CNN, I guess it was before, Van Jones, whoever that guy is, I think he's that bald black guy or something like that, you know, he said that everyone must support bombing Iran because he says they blind women that show some hair. And there's been recent footage put out, and this maybe is even in the last 6 months at least, or year, that Iran has loosened up quite a bit, and there are quite a few. And you can almost say half of the women going around in Tehran do not have any headscarves on. So there's a lot of them showing this. And it lets you know how out of touch, of course, CNN is. You know, a lot of these news people in the West, it's not really journalism, it's not reporting, it's just a bunch of fake facts. It's just lie after lie after lie after lie. And there are people that film with their cell phones in Tehran, and the women around there are not wearing headscarves, most of them. I'll tell you what, the majority did not have headscarves. And it was just put out to me, put out to me a long time ago. I think it was back in, and this was believe it or not, this was 1997. 1997. When I was learning dental technician, they had some Turkish people in our class. They had Russians in the class as well. And of course, some German people in the class. And, of course, I was, in our class, I think, pretty much the best student. I was the best student, by the way. I was the best student. And I'm an American. Isn't that incredible? I mean, America first, I guess. At least in that. I was a little older, of course, than a lot of those people. But there was one student that was not in my class. She was in a different class. And I guess she was actually, maybe overall, she was better than I am, because she got this rated as the best student. Out of 71 people, and I got rated number 2. But there was a Russian guy. He sat right next to me, by the way. And he was, unfortunately, he was a lazy guy. He didn't want to study. I guess he was partying. He was a young guy. But this guy was one of the most tremendous artists you've ever seen. And even his work in dental, like making crowns and bridges from ceramic, it was just absolutely stupendous. It just blew everybody away. And believe it or not, he did not pass. He had to go another 6 months, and because he didn't pass the written parts, and he didn't study. He just, well, not enough anyway. And but he did so. Of course, he blew me away. Of course, on the practical part, I did very good. I don't know. There might have been others that were better as well. I don't know. I just know this guy is definitely better. I sat next to him, and he went to some other class. I was ineligible to do that because I lived in Bremen, and these people were living in outside of the city of Bremen, so they got a special class to go to Hanover. I can't even remember how many days it was. Maybe it was just an entire day. I think it was more than a day. And anyway, but I guess he blew the instructors away too. And his work as an apprentice was better than probably half of the professional ones that have already long passed their apprenticeship in Germany. He was so good. Like I said, of modeling, ceramic crowns, really artistic. Anyway, that was just a point, and I don't even remember why I made it. But let's see. I was. Oh no, I was going to be talking about. There was Turkish people in our class, and they were telling me, because when you go to Germany, you'll see like there's a lot of the older Turkish women and all that, and they're wearing headscarves and all that, and the women in our class, the young ladies in our class, like 17, 18, I don't know, they were telling me if you go to Turkey, they aren't wearing headscarves or nothing. They said that was these conservative ones in Germany that are doing it. They're more conservative than the Muslim countries themselves. So you see, the Muslims in Germany are more conservative than the Muslims in the countries that they come from. That was just a strange thing to me. And I'm just trying to, reiterate that. And apparently the real truth is the Taliban is not anywhere near as conservative as they were in the, I don't know, maybe, what was that, in the was it 1990s or anyway, the time when the United States attacked them. But the United States are the good guys. They know, it's like they have to make sure that they tell everybody how to live. And of course that was all about different things anyway. And it turns out, I guess, and America actually even admits it, that they baited Russia to attack Afghanistan to get them in a quagmire. I guess that's the real history of it. I'm not up on that so much, but apparently there's a lot of evidence to that. Okay. So, in other words, in Tehran, it's not like this guy from CNN said that, what do they blind the women. They blind them, take their sight away from them. I don't know, poke their eyes out or whatever because some of their hair showed. It's just a bunch of fake stuff. I mean, I don't know. You got to be really ticked off with the massive amounts of fake news, especially all over in the United States. It's just mind-boggling. And I thought Donald Trump was sticking up his fake news, but he's against fake news because they used it on him. But he's a purporter of the fake news himself. Anyway, let's keep going here. Fox News, not CNN this time. This time we go to Fox News. They have people on there, and I guess these are people reporting even from the Pentagon. And I guess, I'm ahead of the game here, I guess, because they're calling Donald Trump the deceiver, that he deceived them, and I think mostly they were talking about these B-2 bombers. But Donald Trump he puts out fake news a lot of time, and it's of course to benefit him. And I was even putting out already days, and I even mentioned it again yesterday, it's going to be days that Donald Trump, not weeks, not 2 weeks, Donald Trump is not going to have all those assets, paying all that money, and have those people being lazy, sitting over there, waiting 2 weeks before they bomb Iran. It was going to happen relatively quickly. And of course, keep in mind, the United States has only used a very, very, very tiny portion of the assets that they have already sent over there. Very tiny portion. I would even say it's definitely less than 10%. Definitely. I don't even venture to say that it was 5% of the assets that the United States has sent over there that they have already used against Iran. Less than 5%. That is just my estimate. I think they have a lot more of these bombs. I mean, big bombs, bunker buster, any kind of bombs, and lots and lots and lots of other bombs. Lots of planes, very many, and they've been flooding Israel with weapons and ammunition, lots and lots and lots of ammunition. Israel has been going hog wild since this stuff started to arrive, bombing Iran as well. Iran is a big country, that's one of the good things about it. It's not like some of these little countries that the United States has chosen always to be the big enemy, the big Satans. I don't know. Yeah. So, like I said, this is going to be a short video. It's probably starting already a little longer than I thought. I haven't even gone jogging yet. That's why I'm dressed like I am. So they launched the bunker busters full payloads. I guess they call it full payloads. I don't know what is a full payload of these huge bunker buster bombs. And I suppose it maybe is 6. I don't know that they dropped 6 on Fordow. And I don't know how many B-2s they used. I don't know if it was it was a small amount compared to what they actually have. So the United States is holding a lot of this stuff back in reserve. And I guess they launched these Tomahawk missiles from submarines to hit the other sites. And it was more than just these 2 sites that Donald Trump mentioned that the United States bombed. They bombed other places as well. I don't even know how many. Maybe it was up to 20 sites. Maybe it was not the United States alone. Maybe it was with Israel. And that's been a joint project ever since it started, even long before it started. It was planned also very much by the United States. And you see, if you're watching a lot of the news, what's going on right now, and even this incursion into Kursk that supposedly Ukraine did against Russia, that was a lot of NATO countries. I guess there's huge amounts of NATO, not just ammunition, but equipment from many countries, from Germany, from the UK, from many other places as well. So the incursion of Kursk was a NATO operation. It was not a Ukraine operation. Ukraine probably spent 20% of the responsibility, and 80% is NATO. And the British are always very much involved in anything against Russia, and they're involved even in this against Kursk, and everybody knows. I mean, against Iran, and they were involved very much also against. I mean, I don't know. The British just have to be involved. I guess it makes them feel very good, like their old empire when they were bombing people all over the world and killing lots and lots of people. You know, that's what it is. I mean, let's be honest. That's what the West is all about. The West is about domination, killing over other people. And if you want to look for trends, you know, if you're a history major like myself, you can go back even to the time of Clovis. Clovis actually was a French. He was the grandfather, I believe. I don't think it was a great-grandfather, but this was not that long after the fall of the Roman Empire. And the prominent form of Christianity at that time was somebody was sort of a founder, maybe like an imam, sort of, in the Christian church, and it was under Arius, I guess, not the Aryan nations, Arius. So it was like Aryan Christianity, Arius Christianity. I don't know. You know, they sound similar, but it's different. And the Aryans, actually, they're from areas, you know, and they call it like Aryan nations, you know, and it makes it like white supremacy, and it's not. But I guess these people are actually the real Aryans, I guess, are from like some area, maybe they say like northern India. I don't know. Maybe when I heard that, maybe they were still aligned with Pakistan, so maybe they're from Pakistan. And I guess they were lighter skinned than, of course, the regular Indian people, but that's the Aryan thing originally. And Arius is a different spelling, at least in Latin letters and all that sort of a thing. But anyway, that was the prominent form of Christianity. And Clovis and those people and the band, they were actually French, and they went around, and you had to, and it was, I guess, a lot of this, the discrepancy was, I guess, in the Trinity. They had a different belief in, you know, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. I guess that was the main difference than what will turn out to be later on the Catholics, which was Clovis. And what they did is they went around to all various tribes in lots of places, northern Italy, Austria, Germany, France, and they said, if you don't convert, then we chop your heads off. And I guess they were very warlike, and it was a big band of, you know, with armor and all, and they basically said, you know, you convert or you die. We kill you. We chop your heads off. And they went around, and everybody pretty much had to convert to this form of Christianity, which later would be called Catholicism. So I would even say that was the first Reformation, you know, historically speaking. And then, of course, it was Martin Luther, and 1521 or whatever. And I mix it up sometimes with, like, there was the Worms Cathedral or whatever, the 98 Theses and all that sort of stuff. And then he hid out in Wittenberg, and I think it was the King of Saxony that was shielding him, you know. And then you know, they had the Gutenberg Bible, and you know, first time printed in a different language. I mean, that's a lot of the interesting Christian history, you know, selling of indulgences, and I don't even remember what was that guy's name, you know. So you used to buy your way into heaven. Probably people think they can do that nowadays as well. I don't know. It's not really so much my deal. So anyway, one other thing I wanted to talk about that nobody is really talking about, and this is just something you guys got to keep in mind, is that Israel has submarines. So the Tomahawks that they launched on these other sites were launched from American submarines, but you have to remember that Israel bought powerful submarines from Germany, I guess it's these Dolphin class, they are capable of launching ballistic missiles. Nuclear ballistic missiles, by the way. And it's kind of strange, but it's not strange, that Israel used these planes and they had to use refueling en route from, American and German. Of course, it's been discovered, of course, by accident that the Germans were refueling these Israeli planes also on their way, and probably even still today, bombing Iran. And American planes are very heavily involved, and they were then on the first day. And America actually was very, very big involved in this operation from the very start. And then Donald Trump, of course, putting out his deceptive fake news and saying, oh, we have nothing to do with this. We're not involved at all. And then, like I mentioned even yesterday, that Ted Cruz, Tucker Carlson, bless his heart, he caught Ted Cruz into admitting by accident that the United States is also involved in that. I didn't say they dropped the bombs, but they did everything possible to make sure that it was a success by Israel to drop these bombs. And, that's probably one reason why Donald Trump called it excellent. Excellent. He's very happy about this bombing raid that he just now did as well. It's like, remember when he talked about the beauty of our weapons when he was launching an attack on Syria? I tell you, I don't know. Just by some of this guy's comments and some of these things like to take out, to kill the Khamenei and all that, Donald Trump, you have to wonder about him. A lot of people are saying that the guy is also insane, just like Joe Biden. So, what else? Iran has come out and said that only the entrances and the exits of the tunnels of Fordow were damaged. They didn't say anything about the other two. I don't even know how they would necessarily know that, because it would be very difficult to be getting inside to go see if there's any damage. That's one reason why I said I'll bet you that equipment is also damaged. Not completely destroyed, but I think it was damaged. Maybe some of it is out of use. And of course, all the more vital things I believe they've already gotten out of there. And Trump has come out and said that he will bomb again if Iran does not stop. Iran already pledged that if the United States attacks them, that they are going to strike back in a very devastating way. And the United States, if you look at where all these aircraft carriers and their groups are located, they are located, out of range for the most part, at least what is believed, that Iran does not have missiles with that sort of a range to get that far. And even if they did, whenever these missiles are going to be launched, the United States is going to have a long time to adjust and to get their Patriots, everything in order, and wait for these missiles. Even if it's hypersonic, I don't believe, there's people are going to be on high alert, obviously. Iran is probably, if they do this, it's going to be very quickly. And the United States is going to be sitting there waiting. There's not going to be anybody asleep. And they're going to be ready with their air defenses to protect ships and bases. I don't know. And I think Iran also launched some drones. Israel shooting down the drones. But if you look at the tactics of the Houthi did this. They were launching missiles knowing that these things would get shot down. And they did have, and I don't know if they still do have, some hypersonic missiles, probably very, very few. Who knows how many Iran has? They must take a lot longer to produce these. And I think even Russia has put out, not in line with any of these incidences, but that they have a lot of, of powerful missiles. Putin might have even announced how many that he's got. Maybe it was 1,000. Anyways, a lot of these missiles. If Europe actually does decide that they want to go after Russia, but I don't think that they would. You would think they're not that stupid. I don't, and obviously they want to provoke Russia to making the first step, to so that they can hold the moral high ground. Donald Trump is grasping as hard as he can to hold the moral high ground now, and they're that's why they're really stressing, oh, they're making nuclear bombs, they're making nuclear bombs, they're making nuclear bombs. And of course, there's no evidence of this. But anyway, why do I want to keep talking about that? I don't know how many of these Dolphin-class submarines the Israelis have. I was thinking maybe they have about 5. I don't know. How many do you need? Iran has small submarines, but they're not capable of launching any of these types of missiles. I think only torpedoes aimed against ships. So I don't know. Makes you wonder if Iran has got some of these submarines in place near American shipping. I don't know how stealthy they are, but I guess we're going to find out in the next days. I would call this, I guess, maybe video 1, because to be continued. Terrible. And hopefully this does not turn into nuclear. And the United States has used nuclear, the only country that has ever used nuclear weapons on civilian populations. So you never know if they're going to do it again. Donald Trump, I don't know. Donald Trump, I hate to say, but I don't think he is really stable. I think he's got some mental problems, and I don't know. Not the same as Joe Biden's, but he's got them as well. So that's about it for this video today. I might be coming up with another one later on as I gather more information. I just wanted to get this out because it might take 20 hours. It's weird because on one video I mentioned, oh, it's been going faster. You know, I had like hour videos and and it took them less than an hour to upload into YouTube instead of the regular 20 hours. But you know, right after I said that, they started taking longer, but not as long as they were taking like the 20 hours to upload. I don't even know what the heck it's all about with YouTube. But anyway, I'm hoping this one, it's like going to be like maybe 33 minutes or so. I hope it's going to get uploaded in good time. And yeah, just hope that, I'll tell you what, there's been a lot of questions. I'll just add one more point. I wanted to talk about this. You know, Donald Trump is going out and he's saying that Tucker Carlson called me and he apologized. And a lot of people are saying, I don't even think that is true. I don't know if Tucker Carlson is going to comment on that. It's not, you know, Donald Trump comes up, like I keep saying, with his fake news and his fake stuff all the time too. You know, he doesn't tell as big a lies yet so much as a lot of these other people, but Donald Trump is a liar as well. You know, it's difficult. In a lot of ways, I still support Donald Trump, but you know, his foreign policy, it might be even worse than Joe Biden's, and Joe Biden was a disaster. I don't know if we've had a president. I mean, it's obvious that our foreign policy of the United States is not controlled by anybody rational, whether it be a president or a cabal or some deep state or Israel or whatever. Obviously, Israel, even under Joe Biden, Israel controls what goes on in the Middle East. They run U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East. They pretty much run everything as far as U.S. foreign policy is in the Middle East. But the point I wanted to make, I wanted to say that Donald Trump was coming out and saying, well, even Tucker Carlson said that it would not be a good idea for Iran to have a nuclear bomb and we have to stop them and this blah, 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 blah. And, you know, you're wondering, you know, and it doesn't even look like Iran is running a covert weapons program, but Israel certainly is. Israel has never declared that. And the United States covers for them ever since President Johnson. You know, it might even be that they helped Jonathan Pollard steal all those nuclear secrets. And you know, they make nuclear bombs. Nobody knows how many. I think George Galloway was saying, well, what is it? Is it 50 or is it 200 or is it 500? I think it's probably over 500, but why in the heck would Israel, maybe they've upgraded them, I don't know. Why would they need more than 500 nuclear bombs? That's enough to destroy the entire Middle East 2 times over. But anyway, I was going to put out, and this is going to shock a lot of people, but I'll tell you what, I would trust Iran with nuclear bombs before I would trust the United States or Israel with nuclear bombs. It's already been proven that these are radical and irrational governments. And I would say, based on just evidence, information that you see right before your eyes, that Iran is far more rational than the United States government. and the Israeli government. And now you can even add to that the British government, the German government, the French government. These are a bunch of friggin' idiots. The European Union, Ursula von der crazy, and Kaja Kallas. These people don't know what the hell they're doing. Iran, I think, is far more rational than these people. I don't know. Is everybody going to skewer me for saying that? For saying what to me is obviously the truth? Why don't we set down a column of pluses and minuses between the US and Iran and find out which one seems to be acting more rational in global politics? Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. So now it's going to be 40 minutes probably. Anyway, so I'm hoping this thing gets uploaded a lot faster. I don't know. I probably would be there's definitely going to be a part 2 to this. Who knows when? Today? Maybe tomorrow? I don't know. Maybe I'll put out a small video if there's some other information that comes out. I don't know how much you guys are getting in the States, how much is covered up. You know, Russia seems to be behind in a lot of this information. So obviously, because they didn't do it, you know, and they're trying to probably gather the true facts rather than the fake news that the United States puts out first. Okay, anyway, blah, 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 blah. Here I'm on a rant. And thanks for joining me. I'll see you on the next one, I hope. I'm sure, hopefully the world will still be around, and I hope we're not going to be experiencing radioactivity and all that kind of stuff. So I'll see you then. Bye-bye.